In this video, I'm gonna show you some different ways that we can attack the turtle. I'm gonna give you my favorite way to attack the back using seatbelt grips, and then I'm gonna give you some contingency plans as well. How we're gonna start this, Max is gonna be in with a head inside single leg shot, okay? We can do the same thing from a double leg. We can do the same thing from somebody in standard turtle, but it's good to have an idea of what to do if somebody has a single leg shot, as this is a super common scenario. First thing that I need to do, I always have to clear the shot first. Where people make big mistakes is they look to attack the back or they look to attack front headlocks before they've cleared the actual takedown. And in any given case like this, if I start to crossface and I look to just go behind, Max is gonna raise his chest and he's gonna put me down on the mat. So I have to make sure that I stuff his shot first. How I do this is by taking my left hand and putting it on his shoulder, and my left foot is gonna step up, I bring my hips forward. Now, my right hand is gonna make a whizzer, and I'm literally making like a scooping grip, almost to say that if Max had no base here, I could literally toss him over to the side. That's how I'm scooping his shoulder here. So this is my first step. Now, to actually clear the shot, I need to make a heavy sprawl. What I'm looking to do is disconnect his hands. With my hand on the shoulder blade and a whizzer, I'm gonna sprawl my hips down and back, shoelace to the floor, boom, dropping to clear the shot. You'll notice my hips are on Max. I'm not so far back that now I just have to disengage. I'm here where I have weight on top of my partner. From here, the first thing we're gonna look at is a standard go behind. I'm gonna take my left hand, I'm gonna cross face here using the bone of my wrist on Max's nose, and my right hand's gonna come over to his hip. Now, as I start to walk behind, I wanna put my right knee next to Max's ankle, and I sit everything down like this. This is a very important thing that I see a lot of people mess up when they try to attack the turtle. Most people go behind their partner and they put their leg like this. And you'll notice my kneecap is facing the exact same direction as Max. And there's two things that are wrong here. The first is all my power is facing the wrong way. When I mean power, I mean my hips, my shoulders, my arms, they're facing this way. So my push and pull is not controlling Max. It's not really controlling anything. So I just have a grip here. It's kind of weak. But more importantly, what Max can easily do from here is sprawl his leg and sit and put me back into guard. And you see this happen a lot as people go to take the back. So Max from the single leg here. If my knee is not in the right position here, as I walk behind, Max is just gonna immediately sprawl and sit. It'll look like this. Just sprawl and sit here. And now, has that ever happened to you? As you walk behind, he just sits. It's not fun. The easiest thing that we can do is make sure that we place our kneecap right next to our partner's ankle. So I put my knee on the bone of his ankle like this. And now posting my left leg, my right hand's gonna grab his hip, my left hand's pushing the knee. And look how I'm gonna pull Max into me here, foot flat, butt down, almost like I'm sitting him into my lap. Why? Because now if Max tries to sprawl this leg, it's so tough because I'm collapsing it over his own hips. If I'm here, sprawl your leg, it's easy. Come back. By putting my knee right here on the bone of his ankle, this. Now if Max tries to sprawl, it's a super tough thing to do. And now I can start to attack the back on my own accord, and I don't have to worry about him sitting back into guard. Now let's look at how we attack the back using a seatbelt grip. And this is my favorite way to attack the back. To be honest, there's a lot of different ways you can attack from the turtle. I think this is the best. This is just what I've had the most success with. Again, we're looking at a single leg shot. So the first thing, I step my leg, I bring my hips forward. I make my whizzer, I post, I sprawl everything back to disconnect Max's hands. And now I make my cross face. My right arm's gonna come over Max's hip. I'm gonna walk everything behind, and I'm gonna make sure that I put my knee right on the bone of his ankle. I sit everything back and down. What I want from here is a seatbelt grip. I want my left arm over Max's shoulder, and I want my right arm under his armpit. What I'm looking to do when I connect a seatbelt grip is grab my forearm. So in any case, I don't like a seatbelt grip that's 10 finger or palm to palm. I like grabbing on my forearm and cinching everything tight. How can I get my seatbelt if Max is a little bit tight here? One thing I like to do, hide your neck, Max, is start to destabilize. So how I do this is by pulling Max to me. If Max had really bad base and I pulled him, he would just fall here, which in any case, maybe he shouldn't be grappling, right? Because that's a little too easy. So Max is going to make sure he stabilizes. So as I pull, he stabilizes his base. And now look at my left hand. It punches over the top. As I punch my seatbelt in, my left knee is also going to go in the space between Max's knee and his elbow. So it'll look like this. 1, 2. And if you notice here, with my left knee in the space, my right foot is posted. It is not posted across his hip. If I post across Max's hip like this, I am purely connected. So if Max starts raising his butt, I'm going to fall. I like for my right foot to be right here, almost in between his feet. And with my hands connected, now I start to make what we call chest to back control. Putting my chest on Max's back, my ear tight to his shoulder. What I want to do is think about it like I'm going to weld my chest to his back. There should be no separation. Where a lot of people fail this back attack, and this is where I preach to my students here, you cannot allow for your chest to back position to slip. What I'm looking to do is push off my right foot and drive over to my left shoulder. And it should look like this. I push, and now you'll notice my knee is in the pocket of Max's hip. From here, I kick my foot like I'm throwing a snap kick. 1. And I pull my heel in. Now my right hook comes in, and I'm ready to attack the back. Where you see some people fail this is as they put their seatbelt in and they start to push, they feel that their partner has a good base. And so they push a little bit with their legs, and then they try to pull with their arms. And so they do this. And if you notice, my chest and back just separated. And now as I start to fall to my side, Max will shallow his elbow, and I pulled him right on top of me. So in no case do I separate my chest from his back. From here, again, as I pull, when Max stabilizes, I come over and catch. Now, pushing off of my right foot, I want to drive over to my left shoulder here, keeping my chest and back tight. My bottom hook is significantly more important than my top. So as my knee comes in, I just kick everything through. Now I pull my heel, I catch the top hook, and I'm ready to get to work. In some cases, from a single leg, we can skip going all the way behind, and we can do the exact same attack. And so from here, I can step and sprawl the same way. And now I can make my cross face, and you'll notice I just lock my seatbelt from here. So instead of walking all the way behind, I locked my seatbelt, and I already have this chest to back control. And now from here, I simply need to walk 2 or 3 inches, about here. Now I drive my left knee, again, looking for the space between his knee and elbow. I hip switch in, I throw my hooks. I love attacking the back like this because it's a very quick way to get to your partner's back. Another thing that's really cool is if your partner's greedy with this arm. Oftentimes I have guys, when I sprawl, try and keep reaching with this arm. And as I walk with my seatbelt grip, again, right now we're just cross-facing in seatbelt, look what his arm does. See how it's folded behind Max's back? Rotate here. With my seatbelt grip, he keeps reaching, puts that arm folded. And now, when I hip switch in, something really cool is going to happen. As I throw my hooks now, you'll notice Max's arm got trapped underneath my leg. And so it's an added bonus. Sometimes you hip switch here and you end up with an arm trap. And now I look to finish my choke. If Max takes his arm out of there or pulls it before I hip switch, not a big deal. I still end up on the back. But this is my favorite way to attack the back, using a seatbelt grip off of a single leg attempt. Now let's look at why you should have confidence to take the back using this seatbelt approach. So sometimes I'll have students ask me, they feel like they get their seatbelt and they can hip switch in, but their partner does such a good job fighting the hooks out that they end up on the bottom. And this is a really valid approach, right? I might get here with Max and I might throw my seatbelt, and when I start to hip switch in, I feel that this knee is not able to come through the space, and now what do? Because if I try to throw my hooks from here, it's not going to happen. His weight's down here. And where people will mess up here is they try and hook with their top hook. And if I start to do this, Max is going to hip escape away, and he's going to take the top position. Take the top position. And now I am down on the bottom. It's a bad day for me. So what I don't want to do is start in such an advantageous position, the turtle. I'm about to take the back and end up on the bottom. What I'm going to look to do here is build height. And how I do this is first, by driving my feet to the outside. So right now, my knee is still semi underneath Max. It's not enough to put my hook in. So what I'm going to do is pull my feet back, and I'm going to scissor my legs. Notice how my left foot's going to go underneath my right. I'm going to point my belly button to the floor. Now my lock is going to move like a chain moves around a post. I don't want to disconnect my hands. I keep everything tight. I roll my lock to behind Max's head. And now I start walking everything up. I want my knees bent and my butt down. I end up in this kind of modified side control, right, where I'm underneath his head, but I also have good back exposure. When I have good back exposure like this, it's an easy thing to wrap up what we call a double wrist lock. My left hand under his head grabs on his wrist. My right hand grabs my own wrist, and I get everything nice and tight. From here, I'm going to start stepping my right foot over into S-mount. If I can do it here, awesome. Sometimes guys are a little bit tighter. So what we have to do is change our base to extend them out, and now I crawl my right foot through the space. As soon as I get my right foot to the floor, I build up on my left knee, and I get everything nice and tight. I build that chest to back connection again. I'm going to put my ear tight to Max's, and I'm going to chair sit from my left hip to my right hip. I never put my back on the floor. I go left hip, roll Max up, right hip. And now I end up on the back with high hooks or a rear body lock. If I have very short legs, low hooks, not a problem at all. So again, this should give you some confidence when you start to attack the back, because I know that even if Max pulls his knees to his chest, even if he doesn't allow me to get my hooks in, it's a relatively easy thing to build height and get back to the top position. Again, head facing that way, Max. It just looks like this. As I punch my seatbelt and I start to drive, I can't get my hooks. Watch how my feet come out. 1. Now I move my lock, I build to the top position. 2. From here, we're in a great spot. With my chest to Max's back, I control and I control. I want this double wrist lock. Right when I get to the double wrist lock, I start to step my right foot over, changing my base, stepping. I slide my left knee high and I start to chair sit. Once I'm on the back, I'm ready to attack. Again, with high hooks or with a full body triangle. But this should give you confidence enough to throw your seatbelt, hip switch in, and now you have options when your partner doesn't allow the hooks. Guys, sometimes when we attack the back with a seatbelt, our partner does a good job of trying to beat us and roll away. And where you see people fail with this is they keep the seatbelt and their partner rolls and actually puts them on the bottom. It looks like this. Sometimes I'm here with Max, and once I get my seatbelt, before I can punch through, he just rolls and ends up spinning over the top and putting me down on the bottom. And if I get too greedy with my seatbelt, I can again go from what would be almost the best position in Jiu-Jitsu, taking somebody's back and turtle, to now bottom side control. So what can I do here? In this case, we go into rolling hooks. And the whole idea behind this is I'm going to take my left hook, which would be my bottom hook, and I'm going to drive it all the way through. I'm going to pull using my foot, Max all the way over the top. I start from this same position with my knee on his ankle, everything low. As I pull Max to me, he stabilizes. I punch my seatbelt. I drive my knee through the knee and the elbow, and I'm here. Now, generally, I'm looking to attack the back this way. But in this case, Max starts to put his back on the floor. We're going to go slow the first time, although this is kind of a harder one to demo slow. Here, I'm going to drive my right knee around the corner. So as Max starts to roll, my right knee goes to the corner. My left hook is going to come in. And I'm going to pull with my left hook and drive Max all the way over top, pulling him back and down into the full back. Obviously, that's a really hard one to do slow. I'll show you what it looks like full speed. From here, As I pull, I connect my seatbelt. He rolls, I bring him all the way through. My hook comes in. Again, I am moving my knee around the corner. So, come towards me here. Once my seatbelt's connected, look at my right knee. This comes around the corner. My shoulder goes to the floor, and I hook in with my left leg. So Max is going to roll fast. There's my hook. I adjust, and I throw my top hook. What's nice about this approach is, again, it gives me confidence with my seatbelt because I know if Max holds tight, I take him over. If Max rolls away, I roll through with him. But I can always use the seatbelt to hold on, and depending on what he gives me, I'm going to end up on his back. Let's look at another approach when attacking the turtle, this time if I can't throw a seatbelt in. So oftentimes I like to start behind my partner with my knee on his ankle, my hand on the hip, and sitting. What I like to do is drive my partner to me and punch in a seatbelt grip. But sometimes guys do a really, really good job at hiding their neck. And I feel like every time I come up, I just can't walk that hand to the inside. And I don't want to be up here like this where I'm exposed to different rolls or Max starting to sit to guard. So another option to attack the turtle is I can use my hand to pry his thigh. It's the thigh pry, right? I'm opening his leg. I use my knee against Max's ankle bone as a block. And from here, as I pull Max to me, my right hand is going to sneak to the inside. I'm going to make a strong pull to open. As soon as I get this space, I put my shoelaces to the mat and hook in. Now my left leg post as base. From here, I'm at a much different angle. Now I'm over top of Max. I have weight hip to hip. It's an easy thing to start looking to really dig that seatbelt. So even if Max is tight here, I take the knuckle of my right hand and I start screw driving in. As soon as I get my hands connected with the seatbelt, I push off my left foot. I drive everything across the same way and I throw my top hook in. We end up on the back. So same situation here. I'm behind my partner, I'm pulling, I can't get my seatbelt, he's too tight. I sit back, I use my right hand to pry the thigh. 1. As soon as I get the space, I stomp my shoelaces in. 2. Once this hook is in, my left foot posts. I stop here. Now I'm ready to start making my seatbelt. My left hand stays under, my right hand starts screw driving in. Here. Once I make the seatbelt grip, I'm ready to attack the back. Another option that I have from here, if my partner is very, very strong and I feel like I can't take him over, I can start looking to go double unders. With my hands connected here, it's an easy thing to start lacing a leg and throwing in hooks. Now, from this top position, I would go to a power half Nelson. My right hand comes out, I go palm facing me. I'm going to connect my hands, and now as I drive my right elbow to the floor, I flare my left, I take my partner over. I lace my seatbelt, and we're ready to attack the back. So again, this is great, guys, if your partner's really big. So a lot of times you train with somebody who's very big, it's hard to take them over. If I'm here and I thigh pry and step in, a lot of the bigger guys, there's a little bit more space back here. So I can connect double unders. Now I start to throw boots in. Look, my left hook comes in. With this long hook, short hook, I release my right hand. I go palm facing me behind his neck. I connect palm to palm. As I drive my right elbow down, I flare my left. We drop in. As soon as we hit here, I don't like to stay in this position. If I can just lace, easy. If Max is a little bit tougher, I feel like he's putting his head to the mat. Put your head to the mat. Yeah, and I can't lace. I'll take my left hand, I'll reach the shoulder, I'll pull, and my right hand comes underneath. Now I'm back on my seatbelt, and I'm ready to attack the back. So we can use this method of stomping our hook in to attack the back when our partner gives a good defense to the seatbelt. In some cases, when we're attacking the back, it's hard to put the seatbelt in. So what I like to do is come over for a kata-gatame. Gives us a little bit of a different approach once we already have a hook in. So my partner's down here in turtle. I start on the side. I'm going to use this same thigh pry to open Max's knee and stomp my right foot in. Once I have the right hook in, my left leg post, I'm looking to punch a seatbelt. I'd like nothing more than to get here. But Max is going to do a good job at hiding his neck, and I feel like I just can't get this hand to the inside. In this case, we're going to go over. And what I'm looking to do is connect my hands for a kata-gatame. Okay, the submission itself is going to look like this. I come over, I start to sit. As I reach through, I sit everything down. And now from my side, I get a strong finish on a kata-gatame or a head and arm choke. How do I set this up? Well, first thing that's important to note, this is going to be very different from an arm and guillotine. This is not an arm and guillotine, it's a head and arm choke or a kata-gatame. The main difference being, on a kata-gatame, Max's arm is across his neck. In an arm and guillotine, Max's arm would be around my hip. So a lot of people mess this up because when they sit, they think they're doing an arm and guillotine. In an arm and guillotine, we lift. That's not my finishing mechanics here. What I need is for my right arm to be very deep around Max's neck. How I do this, from the hook in, I start reaching over, and what I want to do is put my right hand back here by Max's right hip. Okay, so I'm going to rotate Max just so you guys can see the initial point. As I reach through, look how deep this hand goes. Obviously, I'm not going to be sitting like this yet, but this hand reaches through. I make a fist with this hand, and my left hand covers. This is where I start to make the grip. And the reason for that is it allows for my elbow to get deeper, closer towards Max's neck here. I don't want my hand to be here, where now my elbow, if you can see this, rotate, my elbow is very shallow here. As I reach to his hip, look how deep my elbow gets. And now, probably the biggest key to this choke, my lat is going to crunch Max's head down and in. The whole purpose of me sliding is to slide my lat, boom, here. Like I'm zip tying his head and then pushing it down. So, as I reach to Max's hip, look how I make my fist and watch how I'm going to slide. Pay attention to my lat here, guys. 1. That's what crunches his head. Now, my hands have moved up because of my lat zip tying. I have a strong connection, and I either make a figure 4 or, actually I'm going to rotate you here, or a lockdown with my foot shoelaces to shoelaces. The finishing mechanics on this are me moving my head away from Max as I punch my hips in. So the mechanics look like this. My head moves away, my hips move in, and I get a strong finish on my kata-gatame. Again, those mechanics are explained by my lat crunching his head down. As my head moves away, my lat's pushing his head down. As my hips move in, my hips are pushing his arm across his body. Thus, he's getting strangled. So, from the beginning, we're here. I open, I stomp my hooks. Max is doing a good job at hiding his neck, so I can't get the seatbelt on. I go over. As I reach toward the hip, look how I turn this corner, and my lat takes all the space away. If your partner feels like they're not being choked here, it's likely that your lat has not crunched his head. So as I rotate, I make sure that I slide, keeping full connection here. Once I get my lat over his head, I figure 4, and now my hips come in, my head comes away, and I get a very strong finish, a strong strangle on my kata-gatame from the back. Guys, if you like those turtle attacks and want to see what you should do now that you're on the back, you can see my complete guide to back attacks by clicking right here. If you want to get access to our free membership, everything we have some passes, some sweeps, some wrestling. It's all right here at coreprobjj.com. No credit card required. Check it out.